Welcome to the How to Be Moderately Successful podcast. I'm your host, Mike Scott, and I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Nona Digital. This podcast is all about helping you to build better businesses, better FinTech products, and a better version of yourself. We get a lot of messages to thank us for the guests and the content that we're putting out, which means I expect you're enjoying it. And if you'd like to show support, the best way you can do this is to give us a rating and a review. It's surprisingly difficult to do this, though. So we set up a link to make it really easy. You can just go to ratethispodcast.com/how to be moderately successful. We'll drop this in the show notes too, and thank you in advance. Today's episode is sponsored by ourselves, Nona Digital. Building a FinTech business is difficult, and building the software that enables that business and that scales and that your users love is very difficult. In today's hyper-competitive environment, getting your software built right really does matter. But you also need to close your next deal, focus on building your team, running your business, and making the impact that you need to make. And this is really where we can come in. With an excellent track record of delivering scalable, intuitive software for FinTech companies around the world, we'll take away just some of your stress by making sure that your software product is designed and built at the highest standards, and more importantly, by people that really care. We're small enough so that you're always close to the principals, but big enough so that we can consistently deliver without key person dependency. And we've got a particularly deep skill set when it comes to blockchain application development as well. So if you'd like to accelerate your FinTech project with a team of experts, we'd love to hear from you. Just head over to nona.digital to book a call directly with one of the principals, or you can follow any of the contacts in the show notes. I've got to take a little stab here. We are actively hiring senior developers. So if you are a technical lead or a senior developer that wants to join our team, you can fight between me and Ned, because I'm sure he's also hiring. And we also give a pretty big bounty for any referrals, because senior developers are in very short supply. And now onto the show. So today I've got Ned Phillips joining me, who is one impressive guy. Ned has been around FinTech, it seems, since before it was actually even called FinTech. Back in the late 90s, Ned was one of the first brokers at E-Trade and went on to become the managing director of the company. He was also part of the stock exchange transformation, where he developed 2 Pan-Asian exchanges. Ned experienced the dot-com boom with one of the original FinTech companies and consulted to 8 Securities when they launched the first robo-advisor in Asia. This all led up to Ned's current focus, which is as the founder and CEO of Bamboo. And Bamboo is a global leader in the robo-advisory space, working with some of the biggest names in FinTech and banking. Launched in just 2016, they are a growing team of around 80 people. They've already raised, from what I can see, around $15 million, and I think they're about to embark on an even bigger round, which we'll talk about soon. They've also won a slew of FinTech and startup awards, including one particular award that we'll speak about a little later in the show. And they aim to be profitable in the next 6 to 12 months and have their sights set on becoming the global leaders in the space. Ned is also an impressive athlete, choosing to put himself through some grueling ultra-distance and ultra-endurance races, which we'll definitely get into a little later as well. And on that note, welcome, Ned. It's really great to have you on the show.
Mike, what an intro, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will try not to fight you too hard for the talent. I think we all know. And I think people take a while to read my resume just because I'm 54. And if you've been around long enough, there's surely something you've done for something to read out, but appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It was actually nice doing the research. It's a colorful background. And I always like to interview successful founders that have not always been founders, right? That have come through I love the fact that you were one of the first employees and then you ended up being managing director and now you're a founder. Like, that whole journey is really good and makes for a good founder. So I want to start at the beginning of Bamboo's journey. And the first question I want to ask you is, what is the hypothesis that you set out to prove? Like, sitting around the kitchen table or wherever it happened, like, what was the thing when you were like, hey, this idea, let's go and prove this thing?
Oh, no, I'm going to let you down on the very first question. It was a midlife crisis, and I'm not going to say boredom, but what led me to create Bamboo was I was 48, 49. I had a bit of a midlife crisis. I moved from Singapore to Bali, spent a year in Bali, and I saw what I'm going to call all the FinTech kids, the 25-year-olds crushing it at FinTech. And I had a lunch with a gentleman called Ludovic Blanquet, And he said, no, Ned, but you're a FinTech guy. And I think, like you said in the intro, Mike, even though I did E-Trade in the 90s, we didn't call ourselves FinTech, right? We were just putting trading online. But as he explained it, it's like, and then you built exchanges. I'm like, oh, yeah. He said, why don't you do a FinTech? I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. And at the time, I was consulting to 8 Securities, the one that you mentioned, who were a B2C robo. And I think to do B2C, and it's another conversation, but you've got to raise 50 million, 100 million, because cost acquisition is huge. But a few things led me to believe I should do B2B. Why? All the banks are going to need their own robo-advisory. I had a look, no one was building it. And when I was at 8 Securities, lots of banks called 8 Securities and said, do you do B2B? We said no. And I'm like, hold on, I'm a sales guy. People are calling wanting to buy something. We're saying no. I know how to start it. And then I met Aki, my co-founder, because I'm not a tech guy and he was a real tech guy. And he was like, I'd like to build digital wealth stuff. I'm like, okay, somebody somewhere, I'm not particularly religious, but somebody somewhere was telling me, let's do this. And, and then what is the problem statement? Wealth is not accessible. Like I have a 21-year-old daughter. She has $500 to invest. Before digital, no one would help her save. So the hypothesis was saving and investment will be digital. We should be the picks and shovels for the banks to do it. I met the right guy at the right time and off we went.
Right. And I mean, that certainly didn't disappoint at all. Firstly, starting a story with, I took a year off to be in Bali is always going to be a good story. but it definitely didn't disappoint at all, because there's a number of things there that you almost glossed over. But I think, that ability to observe the market and that ability to actually be like, hold on, I'm hearing this again. We've got the skills, we can match the skills. I've got a technical co-founder. I'm seeing this through my daughter. Like those are not, there might be a given in your world, but those are not given attributes to actually have as a founder. And putting those all together and going, shit, we can actually build something is why you are where you are.
I have this saying that thinking's overrated. So my co-founder is amazing at thinking. I'm really not good at it. I think you're right. I think when coincidences come, I'm like, oh, let's do it. And I don't think whether it's the right thing. So maybe one of the skills I have is I have quite a high risk tolerance. And you're right. People wanted to do it. I could hear people complaining about it. I met my co-founder. I didn't stop to think, is this risky? I'm like, hey, here's the pieces. Let's go. So that's probably a strength that I have, which sounds counterintuitive, is I'm not willing to sit around and overthink it. Let's just go. Which means I will do the wrong thing quickly, but I'll also sometimes do the right thing quickly.
100%. And I'm having this conversation with a good friend of mine at the moment, the sort of ongoing conversation about trying to discover my area of genius, this concept of area of genius. And I'm pretty hard on myself. So every time he's like, oh, what about this? I'm like, no. And then I'll give him 10 reasons why I'm shit at that. And one of the things that I said on one thing that he said was like, no, but that's not, man, that's not an area of genius, man. Everyone can do that. That's really easy. And he's like, no, that's the thing. That's probably your area of genius when you're going, oh, this isn't even something I think about. I just do it and I get the thing started and then it goes. And what's the big deal? Where other people are like, Jesus, how does that guy do that? So, it's interesting listening to you speak about that, because that's clearly after 5 minutes of conversation, that's something you're very good at, is starting things, right? Getting things going. Somebody
said, this will made me cringe. He said, we're doing an intro to a panel we do. And he said, ask the guests, rather than doing a boring intro, hello, your name is, ask them what their superpower is. And he's like an American Californian guy who can do that, because it's, I love America and California, but it's more cheesy. I'm like, I'm British. I can't ask somebody what their superpower is. No, I'm not doing that. But it's the same point, right? It's not a real superpower or a real genius, right? It's, hey, what's something? And you're right. Like, I think for me, I'm just willing to do stuff. And maybe that is it's not a genius or superpower, but it is an attribute that I do see other people don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, you did mention the problem statement, but let's just get into that a little bit more. How do you think about the problem that you are solving with Bamboo?
There's a few phrases that we use, but I like this idea of taking the worry out of money, right? Like most people don't have enough money. I mean, unless you're a billionaire, you don't worry. Maybe you do worry when you're there. But here's the point. For mass retail, for most people. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know the exact dollar amount you need for retirement?
Wow, that's a loaded question. But I'm gonna go along with you and just say no.
Okay. The reality is, it's not an exact answer, but for most people, it's stressful to even think about that. So what should somebody do? The old school way was, hey, wait till you have enough money, whether that's 100,000 or 500,000 or a million, then you can meet a financial advisor who will try and sell you a shitty product, right? I used to be a financial advisor, so I'm not ragging on them. It's just the industry. But here's the reality. If you started saving at 18, if you had a simple application that allowed you to start saving $10, $100, $500, even just doing regular monthly savings without paying the large fees, and do it simply and intuitively, everybody, all the people who do it will have a better financial life. The problem we're trying to solve is that wealth is one of the least digital aspects of your money. You make payments immediately. You do so much immediately in all your digital life. But with wealth, for many people, it's still, I'm a financial advisor. It takes 2 days to open an account. What's an ETF? What's a mutual fund? It's a confusing business. So we're saying to the banks, these fintech startups are going to disrupt you. They're going to offer intuitive, simple savings applications. You as a bank can't do that because you don't think like that. You think everybody wants to buy your products. We will help you build a customer intuitive journey with our suite of APIs that does all of that. That's a problem statement. And 5 years in, it's taken us a while to work it out ourselves because it's not easy, but it's really starting to work.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's kind of, I don't want to say good. It's interesting to see the banks. I mean, we've spoken before this podcast, and I know that some of your clients are some of the biggest banks. It's interesting to see them finally kind of adopting this. I mean, they have to, but regardless of that, it's good to see the adoption of, hold on, what we're doing is irrelevant pretty much. We need to become relevant. This is the way we become relevant. So who are you solving this for? Are you solving it for, like how do you think about this? Do you think about this as, I'm solving this for my 21 daughter who's got $500 to invest, or I'm solving this for the banks because they can't do this? Who are you solving the problem for?
It's a two-layered thing, but the essence is my daughter. So a 21-year-old and my son who's 18. It is to say wealth should be accessible irrespective of how much you have to save, right? Now, that's not a problem for the people with more money, right? It's not a problem. If you've got $1 million, somebody will talk to you. In saying that, our client who pays us, the bank, right? We're B2B. So we're B2B2C. So we build applications for, and when I say banks, asset managers, banks, insurers, and increasingly digital banks and tech companies who want to do it as well. But really, their customers consume this application, right? So we've built for HSBC, Standard Chartered, Franklin Templeton. We've built in America, Brazil. We're now building in Africa, Middle East. And, it's quite funny. Somebody said, how do you build in Brazil and Kenya and Germany and Indonesia? Isn't it all different? But honestly, it's not. Think about it. Who wants a worse financial life? Nobody. Who would like to have a safer, better future? Everybody. Sure, there's differences in the product and the regulations and how you deploy the technology, but you're solving the same problem statement. It is for the end customer, and for us, because we're B2B, we deliver it. And I'm the challenge is this: can we be profitable before a bank is innovative? That's all. I love this statement, right? If the banks were super innovative, why would they need us? They don't. Of course, as a small firm that creates new innovation, our rush is to get profitable. As you said, we've raised money, but the VC game can't go on forever, right? At some point, you've got to catch up in B2B. Yeah, that's us. And banks are getting better at it, but they're also understanding they need to move in this direction, which is great.
Yeah, it's certainly something that we've noticed. I mean, we're a services business, not a product business, but I've still seen something change in the last probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years, is that a while ago, when I would speak to banks about building technology, and we're a services business, as I said, not a product business, so it's slightly different, but I think it's the same thing. The response would just be no. We do everything in-house because of regulation and security. We don't work with any partners. We build everything ourselves, so just forget it. No, this is never going to happen. Nowadays, I'm happy to say that I see something very different. Nowadays, I'm happy to say that they go, we just cannot move fast enough. So we need to partner with other service providers, with other products, with other R&D providers, with other POC providers, because we just cannot move at the pace that they can move at, which is awesome. It's awesome for service providers. It's awesome for products, because I think they've finally realized that if we don't, we die. And the only way we do this is actually to leverage the speed and agility of companies like Bamboo and companies like Nona to actually accelerate their own journey. So it's good to see you doing exactly that.
The other day, totally, we've been, you do it too, Mike, you've been there. And same for us, 3 years ago, we were having to bang the doors. Last week, I think there was on 3 days, we had multiple sales meetings, but I was the guest speaker. I'm not going to name the bank, but one of the world's biggest banks, to their senior leadership team. And they were so thankful. Please, Ned, thank you so much for you coming. And
It's
I'm like,
flipped.
hold on, three years ago, I couldn't even, I'm banging on the door with like a big,
Yeah.
and they were good guys. And they were very open and honest. They said, look, we need to move faster. And you seem to have a room full of, and I say this with all my love and respect, the hoodie wearing new tech brigade. We just didn't employ those guys. You guys do it. It's not me. I'm the older guy. But you're right. Hey, we're so honored that you would spend time with us. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to sell you something as well, right? Yeah, we're a product company, but same thing, Mike, right? We're doing, and you're right. The view has changed, and it's a great time to be building for sure.
I want to, just before we shift gears, I want to ask you a sort of strange question, and this is for the listener's benefit, not for your benefit maybe, but give me your elevator pitch. What is the simplest way you explain to people what you do in the shortest way? So not when you're doing your big pitch, like your simple elevator pitch. Let me hear how you describe what you do in the shortest, simplest way possible.
And this is the pitch that I give to a bank, right? So remember, this is not to the customer in the street. We meet a bank. If you need to design and build a saving and investment app, our technology is the most efficient in both cost and time to do it. That's it.
And to the listeners, I hope you heard that. And I'm going to start asking every guest that I have to do that, because I mean, that was excellent. It was great. And that's kind of the point, is that one of the things that I see a lot, because I do a lot of mentoring and I get to speak to a lot of very successful founders both in our business and on the show, it's pretty much without fail that a struggling early stage founder just cannot articulate what they do. They just can't articulate it. And until you can, it's actually quite difficult to move. Similarly, a successful founder that is mature in the business always can articulate it without thinking about it, getting to the nub of it. The language is right. So I'm going to move on from that, but I hope you took notes from that, because that's how you do an elevator pitch. Cool. So changing gears a little bit here, Ned. You mentioned your co-founder and that he's technical. So the thing I want to ask you is, you've mentioned a few times in our pre-conversation and today already that you're a sales-focused CEO. Like you're a guy that opens doors, that closes deals, that is very excitable, that good energy drives things, but you're not a technical co-founder. How important is it to have a technical co-founder when you're building a FinTech business?
It's a great question, Mike. I'm going to tell you how important it is for me. I mean, this, obviously, the thing that I say is, Bamboo doesn't exist without Ned or without Aki. It doesn't exist without all of our team. But here's the crazy thing. In the real world, me and Aki probably wouldn't hang out. It's not that we don't like each other. I love the dude. But we are so different. Like he's thoughtful, organized, calm, tech, visionary. I'm just like, hey, let's get it done. Let's go. But it's so critical that I think, so as a solo founder, I would suck. Why? I'm a super excitable guy. When things go wrong, I need somebody to scream at. Oh, what the hell, dude? Why did that die? VC not give me money there. And I need to kind of vomit it up, right? So I need him because he's that stable force. But the other problem, the reason I need a tech or a company needs a tech co-founder. So two things. I think if you're a sole founder, it's hard because you've got to do it all yourself. But from a technical perspective, the advice I would give is this. Aki he's not just a tech guy. He is crazy thoughtful about why should we build something, and I know it's cliche, like tomorrow. He doesn't want to build today. He's got no interest. Like he knows he can do that, right? What are we building tomorrow? And he's always, and quite a lot of the stuff he builds, people are like, what? No. And we've had some misses, right? But I think, so it's important not just to have a tech co-founder, have a guy who's, I don't know, use the Steve Jobs, the crazy, the misguided, the misfit. He's going to build something that people don't quite get. And I think that's helped Bamboo. So crucial to have a tech co-founder. And here's the point. When you're raising money, I sit in front of VC. So we've raised 15. We're about to go out and raise 25. When I sit in front of a VC, he knows I can't build it. I can spell API, but that's about as close as it gets, right? But Aki, he uses words carefully, super crazy thoughtful. And when they see the two of us balanced together, they're like, oh, it completes the story, right? Just Aki, they'll be like, oh, are you really going to sell anything, dude? Are you really going to convince people? Just Ned, no, you don't know it together. So for me, find that yin and the yang. And honestly, me and Aki are super different, but he wrote a piece called The Selfless Startup. And in it, he wrote, I'm not a people person. In fact, people are fluffy and I like tech, and tech is clear. But he wrote, even though he was 30, I was in my 50s, we shared 5 traits of honesty, humility, hustle, hard work, and positivity. And we shared those, and we believe in those. All the other stuff about tech, it's super important. But and one last thing I know I've been going on, if you meet a co-founder, you better absolutely love them from the beginning. Because if you have any doubt that you'll get on with that guy or that girl, don't do it. You'll love them. And honestly, I've been super lucky to work with Aki.
Ned, there was so much there. And that was I asked this question to a lot of founders, and I always get a good answer, but that was probably the most original and unique answer I've had, because, and just really honest as well. I'm trying to just formulate my thoughts because I got so many questions on this. I guess the first question I want to ask you is, you pretty much intimated that you wouldn't have done this unless you had a co-founder, but you didn't expressly say that. So what I'm going to ask you is, like, if you even would have done it on your own, how would you have done it differently without a technical co-founder, without Aki? Or would you just not have done it? Is that what you're saying? It just wouldn't have been a starter?
I think I would have probably just built total shit. I think that's probably the honest answer. Because I get too wrapped up in my own ideas. So, I drink my own Kool-Aid all day long, and I have to temper that down. I believe everything I say is right. Not because I think I'm a genius. I just think, and then if somebody, here's the thing with me and Aki. One day I'm an idiot. One day, he's rarely an idiot, but sometimes. But I'm totally fine to be wrong the next day. So I have no issue. Like, we could be in the middle of the call, and at the start of the call, I am 100% sure I'm correct. And 10 minutes in, he said something. I'm like, okay, I'm wrong. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care being wrong. I have no issue being wrong when someone points it out, but I don't notice it myself. So I think if it had only been me, I probably could have sold some stuff. I don't want to be a douchebag, but I know I can sell a bit. I probably would have sold, but I think I wouldn't have delivered at all, because I would have been making promises I couldn't cash.
Yeah, there's so much in that. Like, we call it strong opinions loosely held, right? And I'm the same. I absolutely believe something, but I'm totally happy to flip that 3 days later. And as long as everyone knows that, it's okay, because then they're not scared to challenge me, and they shouldn't be scared ever to challenge, right? The other thing is the diversity thing. I mean, you must have said 10 times in that time that you're really, really different. And that's so critical, because when we're building stuff that's never been built, which is kind of any piece of software you've ever built, you need diversity of thought, right? You need to have this as like, okay, cool story, bro, but how do I sell that? Or cool story, bro, but we can't build that. And where those things meet is usually where a product actually comes to life, right? Is the ability to sell it, that people will actually use it, and the ability to build it in a way that scales and is actually possible. So that diversity of thinking is critical, and you've absolutely sort of epitomized that.
But it's super interesting, Mike. Right? So me and Aki know that, right? We sometimes get people in the company. They're like, "Hey, Ned, but 2 days ago you said that." I'm like, "Yeah, I changed my mind." And I think it's sometimes hard for people are like, and I think, and again, this may sound stupid, particularly younger, I'm older, new people are like, "Oh, but you're the CEO. You should have known what you said at the beginning." I'm like, I'm a total idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing it the best I can, and I could be wrong. And I think it is hard. And, look, it does come with challenges, because sometimes people in our company are like, yeah, but Ned's going to change his mind. And that's true, right? And I know that creates challenges. And I see sometimes, I work very close with my marketing team, who are amazing. They present an idea and they're like, and they take bets, because I'm not ambivalent. I'm not ambivalent if I'll like it or not. I'm like, yay, no. And then they take bets whether they can change my mind or not, right? Like, I'll change his mind, but they don't quite know. And why don't they know? Because I don't know. I don't know till I see it. I'm just going to say whatever comes in my head. I'm going to throw it out, right?
Oh, but I love it. I mean, it's honest, right? It might be frustrating and infuriating. I'm not saying it won't be, but it's honest and it's sincere. So I love that. I love the fact that they take bets on your changing your mind. So Ned, we as we said in the beginning, you've raised around $15 million. You're about to embark on another 25. That's significant capital with, I'm guessing, pretty sophisticated investors. That's not a friends and family round. That's VCs. That's people who know what's up. First question is, and you can speak to either one of these because one is done, the other one is about to start. How have you, or did you, or are you deciding about what kind of money to go after? There is a lot of different types of money available, right? It's getting more and more creative these days about this type of debt, that type of debt, this kind of note, that kind of conversion, this kind of equity. It's overwhelming for most, right? you've been around the capital markets and the financial markets for a long time, so I'm guessing you have at least a decent understanding of this, but that's kind of irrelevant, actually. What I want to know is just, how do you think about, okay, we need money to scale, to grow, seed capital, whatever it was. Now we're going after this kind of money. Talk to me about like that process, if there was a process, or was it just who's got money will take any money?
It's a good question. It's probably, so this is the answer that I give, and then I'll clarify it. I'd like to, ideally, I'd like to get money from cool people. What do I mean by that? There's nothing worse on your cap table than people you don't agree with or get on, because so terms are more important than value. Does that mean family office, debt, VC? I think there's no correlation between the type of person and whether they're a rich private investor or a VC or a PE. Obviously, they have their characteristics. So when we started seed round, so when we did seed, it was friends and family. I knew a few friends. I'm 50. I worked in finance. We raised 400 grand. I could go and get 4 guys with 100 grand, right? Wasn't that hard. Hey, I'm Ned. Give me a shot. Let's go. That was easy. We got Franklin Templeton, which is a proper investor. And the reason we got them was when we tried to raise our A round, which was $3 million. So we raised like 1, 3, 10. I used, honestly, I'm going to call everybody approach. Let's go. And I did something like 370 pitches. I don't mean emails. Wow. I mean physical pitches.
Wow. I just want to stop there for a second, and I will let you continue, but I just want to kind of dig into that. So 370 pitches. So basically what you're saying is you were told no 369 times, more or less. Well, or you were said yes, but with caveats that you didn't want to accept.
We were told, so people find it hard to say no right away. They're like, and they don't get back to you, right? So you keep going, and then some develop, right? Oh, come back to you in a month, they don't hear, then they come back to you. But in the essence, we ended up getting in that round 3 investors, right? So one of them we pitched right at the beginning of that journey, but they took a while to come back, right? One was midway through. So it wasn't like I got 369 no's and then 370. It was evolving. We were building our brand. But that's what I realized. I actually think the debate about, is it debt? I think too many founders sit there with their thoughts. I wonder if I should go after VC, or I should go after family office, and I'm going to think, while they're thinking about it, I've done 20 pitches. Like I've got out, done 20 pitches, man, and I'm out hustling. And I know sometimes my rush, sometimes it's too much, right? But hey, look, I am who I am, right? So we got some big investors, mainly from America. So this is what I'll tell you. If you go to America, you've got to, everyone in America tells everybody that theirs is a unicorn, right? Don't be a little, hey, we're starting up, we might get there. You got to, hey, I'm the next Robin Hood, I'm the next Uber, I'm the next there. Your first slide's got to say, I'm a unicorn, let's go. And it gets more sophisticated. Now we're going to see, it's not dreams and hopes. You've got to, we've got hundreds of thousands of users, we've got 20 big banks. I think the navel gazing, hey, is it VC, is it family office, is it debt, it's whatever, go get money. If you don't like the person, don't take the money. If the terms that they offer you, so I was talking to a VC and he said, okay, let's do it. We'd like to get 3 times liquidity preference. And I didn't know what that meant. So 3 times participating liquidity preference. So I put it in Google and it said, if any VC offers you that, just say no, walk away and never take their money. Because what it means is they get 3x their money back on any exit before they then share out the percentage of what they own. So if they put in $1 million, they get 3 million back. And if they own 10%, they still get their 10% on top. And it's quite common, but just say no. So meet good people, enjoy the experience. Don't think too hard about who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I resonate with what you're saying is like, while other people are thinking about it, be out there doing it. I love what you said about that is like, while you're thinking about who to pitch, I've done 20 pitches. And yeah, sure, there's going to be some people that'll cerebralize the hell out of this and get it right through maths and systems. Great, but I think that's pretty rare. Fascinating to hear that people can be dickheads. Like, honestly, that's just it's just a dick move, right? Like, and that's why, like, you've got to do business with nice people, and we'll get to that a little bit more. But that just makes me angry hearing that. Like, for the simple reason that most of us, me included, I've never heard that before. Most people listening to this have probably never heard that before. And a lot of people would just say, oh my God, this is amazing. A VC's offered us a deal. Let's just do it. Oh, that's just details. And then they're screwed. So yeah, really good advice and a good share there. Are you going to employ the same tactic going after your next round, or is it different now because you've already got deep relationships and now you can kind of offer people to follow their options? Or so how are you approaching the next round? If you can talk about it. If you can't, totally accept that because it hasn't happened yet.
100% I can. So it's two layers, right? So 370 was just for the A round, right? We did the B round and then we targeted the same. Some people, they followed us through, right? We met them in A, we were raising 3 million. They said, oh, minimum ticket is 10 or 20. So we're going back to all the people we've ever pitched. So the history we've built, the contacts that we know. We also have to make the deck very different, right? This is not, I have a dream. This is, here's the numbers. Here's why you are a unicorn in the
This is how we scale now. Yeah.
This is, you've got to do that. But here's the crazy thing. Never thought I'd say this. Investment banks have been calling us and saying, at some point, it sounds ridiculous. We're doing a mini beauty parade of small investment banks to be our bankers to raise $25 million. I remember, I'm like, hold on, is that real? Like, I'm some dude who was sitting in Bali on a surfboard, and now like an investment bank wants to be our lead sponsor. And hey, look, we're still super small. Raising $25, as I call it, $1 million is a lot of money. But in the world of him, so we're not getting the Morgan Stanleys or the Goldmans calling us, but these, smaller boutique investment banks. Because what they want is this. They want to help you raise 25 now, because they know the people I don't know, right? I'm good at getting 5 million, 10. Can I get 25? But what they really want is to raise me 25. And if I ever get to unicorn or series D, E, F, they can raise me 200 or do something at unicorns, and then they make their real money. They don't really care about the 25. They just want to place their bet. And so that's the other part. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It's really fascinating. And I think, look, you guys are way beyond what I'm about to say, but it's still useful to just sort of say this, is that sophisticated investors, their biggest problem is deal flow, right? Like their biggest problem is finding good deals. So like when you have a good product with a good track record, like where you are now, you can and should be discerning, right? You can't be cocky and arrogant, but you absolutely should be discerning because you are a good investment. And actually you're solving the VC's problem and you're solving the private equity's problem. They're not just solving your problem with money. And I think sophisticated founders like you know this, but I just see too many very early stage founders having this massive power differential, thinking like, we have an amazing product, we've got a good business, we can show the stuff, and they are our saviors, when that's true, but you're also solving their problem. And it's got to be this mutual thing, which is, I think, the way you said it is, do good business with good people, take investment from good people. That's kind of what I mean there. So just wrapping that question up, what advice would you give to founders looking to raise their first amount of significant money? And what I'm talking about here is not so much friends and family, sort of after friends and family, whether we call that seed or pre-seed or whatever you want to call it.
Do it as soon as you need a hero slide. Don't create 20 average slides. You need slide decks, right? Pitch decks, whatever you call them. You've got to have one, maybe two hero slides. And it's got to say, so this is your A round, right? You've raised a few 100,000, friends and families. The friends and families is the 3 Fs, friends, families, and fools, right? Because it's only the foolish who would give somebody with a dream the money, right? But in the significant money, you're raising a few million, you're getting equity. These are people who get presented a lot. Only do it when you've got a hero slide. The hero slide must say, if you're B2C, here is the month-on-month doubling of my user base. If you've got that, go and raise money, right?
Yeah.
My user base is doubling month-on-month and has been doing so for the last 6 months. If you're B2B, hi, I've signed up 2, 3, 1 of the largest banking organizations, not for a POC, but for real money. And it's really working. I can prove that this works in that single slide. This works. Absolutely. That's the best advice I can give. If you don't have, we have an investor, do love him, but he treats me like a grown-up, which is rare because I'm not. And he's like, he gives me feedback that's direct. And I showed him my C deck the other day. He's like, wow, even you don't listen to your advice. All your slides were okay. I didn't walk away being like, I have to give that dude money. And he's an investor in our very first stage. I love talking to him because even though he's incredibly clear and, correctly critical, he's like, Ned, never forget, you're still competing, right? And you need a hero slide. And what my hero slide needs to say is, Bamboo is clearly the next wealth tech unicorn. Here is the steps that we are clearly on to 100 million of ARR. And it's undisputable because here's the metrics and here's how we're growing. And if you draw the line, it's happening. All the rest of the slides, blah, blah, blah,
It's
blah,
details.
blah.
Yeah.
Get it? If you don't have a hero slide, don't do it. If you do have a hero slide, stand up, present it, mic drop, walk away. That's it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Cool. So shifting gears a little bit. So in our initial introduction, we spoke about your passion, of which you have a few, but one we spoke about was ultra distance running. What I want to know is, it's painful. Like I've run medium distance, but certainly nothing like what you're doing. Just for the listeners' benefit, Ned's talking 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers, 160 kilometer ultra milers running. He can speak about it, but on a treadmill in his house, something like 140 kilometers or something on a treadmill. Just crazy, crazy distance, crazy endurance. What I want to ask is, why do you love it? Like what do you get from it?
And I do love it, man. I could talk about this all day. Why do I love it? After I did that run on my treadmill, which was a competition. So number one, I love competition. Let's be clear. Like, I'm a founder. I'm not a bad loser. If me and you, Mike, had a competition I lost, I would be, dude, awesome. But next time we came back, I would want to rip your head off and win. And the same, I assume, like on a mountain bike race, you'd do too. But we would love it and enjoy it. I absolutely
relate. Yeah.
So I love competition. But I think what I realized is, I like this phrase, intentionally seeking discomfort. I'm good at discomfort. My genius or superpower is I really enjoy extended periods of discomfort. Partly not because so when you run a long way, the issues are tiredness, muscle soreness, You start to get rashes, right? Which suck, right? Your mind starts to deteriorate and you have to overcome that. I'm relatively better at it than most people. And I take a perverse pleasure in knowing that I'm not going to stop. So the other day I did a 200K run straight through in Singapore. And never at one point did I ever think, because and this is my little rant. So I hope I'm allowed a 30-second rant on your show. If I read one more article from an ultra runner that goes, halfway through, I have no idea why I was out there. I say to myself, never again. I say to myself, this is the worst. And I'm like, dude, I have never once in my life thought that. It is we are so lucky to be doing this. So why do I love it? Because and this sounds so cheesy, I know I could run 300K. I know I could run 400K. I know. And I'm getting old. I know I'm never going to find out, right? I'm never going to find out how far I can run. So far, my record is 213K. And I know I can go further. And I love the process. I love keeping going. I love the hurt. I love the discomfort. And that sounds terrible, but I love watching other people stop. And I don't stop. And I love it.
It's the reason I asked is I suspected you were going to say a lot of what you said. And I just don't find it surprising at all, because you just start to, and I know, on these ultra distance runs, I don't do ultra distance, but I've done events where I've been on the bike for 10 hours, 12 hours, not as long as what you're talking about, but and the same thing, your mind starts to go. When I'm racing really hard in a 3-day stage race, I can't tell the difference between left and right. So something happens at a certain point where I'm not kidding, I'll see a sign showing left and my brain goes, what way is that? Is that left or is that right? And you begin to get these weird fatigues, right? But why I'm saying this is because it's not surprising, because building a business is fucking hard. Growing a team is difficult. It's about outlasting the other guy. It's about who can suffer the longest often. It's about who can be in that discomfort for it's not about how long, but it's longer than the other guy.
Yes.
Because that's actually what it's about, right?
Yes.
And I'm not surprised at all that you are the way you are in business because of what you're drawn to in the ultra running stuff, because I see it all the time. I use analogies for mountain biking all the time in business. And it's the same as running is there's absolutely no surprise. And there's actually an amazing book. I can't remember. It's Josh someone or other. He was like a grandmaster chess player, but his whole thing was the same. He was like, I'm not smarter. I'm not even better. What I am stronger at is I will outlast the effort of anyone. If it comes down to a battle of wills, I will beat you. I'm not smarter, I'm not better, but I will outwill you every single time. And he became one of the great chess legends of all time. And then he became one of the great, some martial art. He became like the world champion martial art dude. Wow. And it was all for exactly what you were saying is he's like, I will outlast you. That I will do. And I mean, how relevant is that for business, right? Like that is what building a business is about. So I find that very inspiring, and I'm sure you know all of that, but I'm just reflecting it back to you because it's so obvious, you know.
But
yet, anyway, yeah.
You know, like, and I've often been asked, but what? Why me? I don't really know, right? DNA, genetics. I don't really. My dad still runs at 84 or whatever, right?
Wow.
But I think, you know, as you can tell, Mike, we've only spoken a few times. I'll tell you something super funny. So I was at the doctor the other day getting a check because I'm 54 and I'm always this excited. I don't actually know why, right? It's just, you know, and sometimes it's too much for people. I accept that. And the lady said to me, she turned to me and said, do you have ADHD? I'm like, I don't know. Do you have a thyroid problem? Maybe. And she said to me, would you like some pills to calm you down? I'm like, no,
I'm happy.
I'm totally fine, right? But I think what I realize is when I run 100K, 150, 200K, I'm draining that. I want to see how deep that energy is, right? And I love it. And you're right, your brain starts to, and on my last 30, the 200K run, I'd been awake for like 45, 48 hours. And I was coming towards the end. And you know, I don't want to upset the viewers, but sometimes food doesn't stay in. You have rashes, which are unpleasant. The food may have come up on myself. And this was a street race in Singapore. I'm running 200K. And I remember sitting on the pavement. And I was in this, I'm like, I have like 10K to go. I have to move to get there. And I don't want to give up. But I couldn't put the pieces together to know that if I don't stand up, I can't move forward, right? And it turns out on Strava, you know Strava, I was there for 32 minutes, but I don't really remember. Wow. I don't really remember that. Like, I don't think I was asleep, but I don't really. And I got up somehow and I carried on. And you're right. I always know I'm going to carry on. And I love that chess story you said. If it comes to a battle of wills, love it.
You'll win. Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to tell you a story offline about a certain ultra distance runner that we've spoken about, but I can't share it online. But there's a story that my brother was actually there for, which was just the craziest thing. I guess the part I can share because it's anonymous is just he was running and he hit a very dark place and my brother was running with him. And essentially the long and the short of it, as I understand it, was basically this conversation about I can finish this, but I have to go to a place that's pretty dark and I don't know if I'm going to come back from it. And he ended up doing exceptionally well and coming back from it. But it's just that whole thing. And I mean, I'm massively paraphrasing there on purpose, but it's this whole thing of like, there is so much more in us than what we realize. So much more in business, in athleticism, in relationships, in everything. We are so much stronger than we realize, but we'll never know until we push it, which I kind of love what you said is like, I will never know how far I can run. And you said it with a big smile on your face. I love that. So
and I love that story. And I think, you know, it's called going to the well, digging deep, whatever. I'm not fast, right? So people are like, why do you do long distance? I'm never going to win there's a phrase, if you want to win a race, run 100 meters. If you want to find out who you are, run 100 miles, right? It's a bit cheesy, whatever. But this treadmill thing that I did is the best example. So this is called Backyard Ultra. You do 6.7K or 4.1 miles every hour. On the hour, you must start on the hour and you get to rest. If you run it in 50 minutes, you get to rest 10 minutes. You keep going till there's one person left. Every hour, nobody's first, nobody's last. You're all together, right? You start the fresh hour. As long as you're in, you're equal first. There's only one winner. There's no second place, right? And the guy who runs it, Lazarus Lake, writes about it, right? And he writes about it beautifully. And he's like, look, life's too easy. You want a supermarket? You want food? You go to the supermarket. You want aircon? You're cold? You turn on the aircon. We've lost that ability to suffer, right? We've lost that. And in this race, I've done it twice. First time I got 140K, next time 147. And you know when you give up, oh my God. I look back the next day, I could have done another lap. I know I could have, and that's it in life. Like, you don't know. And I think we're all too soft on ourselves. We all give up too easily. I don't want to be this like hard-ass taskmaster, but come on, guys, right? Like relate to startup world. I called 20 VCs and no one returned the call. Call 200. Oh, I called 200.
Yeah.
Call 500. Oh, I don't have time. Don't have time. Don't give me that, right? Just get up earlier, right? Like, you can all do it. And it's not like I'm some Superman. I watch Netflix. I sit around. I'm lazy quite often. I'm not even getting the best of myself.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway.
It's, one final anecdote on the training thing is, my brother he's a very, very strong runner, athlete in total, but an incredibly strong runner, and sort of breaks records, runs with some of the world's best runners, and he's how old is he? He must be close to 50 now, but he's very direct. And something that I love about the way he speaks about it is a lot of people sort of say to him, his nickname is Pi, so they'll be like, Pi, how do I get better at running hills? Like, what can I do to get better at running hills? He's like, run more hills, run them faster, do them more often. They're like, no, but how do I just do more of them? It's not that fucking complicated. Just get yourself out of your comfort zone, push past 5% of your comfort all the time, and you'll get better at doing the thing that you're doing. And we're not comfortable doing that as people, right? We're not comfortable being 5% outside of our comfort zone. So we want to get stronger and faster, but we're not prepared to go to where we need to go to get stronger and faster. And it's fascinating because when I see good athletes, it kind of comes down to that. It comes down to the ability to be comfortable in the discomfort. Yes. To be comfortable in that place where you're getting stronger, better, faster. And it's the same with business. It's the same with relationships. It's the same with academics. So we'll move on from that topic because I think we could speak on that for hours, and we will, but not now. So I want to change gears a bit. One of the awards that you've won, and I'm conscious of time, so we're going to have to start kind of wrapping up. But one of the awards that you've won, that when I asked you what you're most proud of, your answer was winning this award, and the award was the Singapore FinTech Employer of the Year Award. And that's awesome. And, there's a phrase that I steal. I think I read it in the How Google Works or something, but business is just people doing stuff with other people. That's all business is, right? So I understand why you're so proud of that. What I want to ask you is, how did you win it? So what I mean by that is, what is your approach to building the best teams and bringing the most and the best out of those teams that you've built? How did you get to what culminated in winning the award?
So I was very lucky to work for one boss called Matthias Heller back in the 90s. Incredible boss. Everyone loved him. Yet he didn't seem to do much work. And I remember sitting with Matthias after a couple of years of knowing him, and I said, Matthias, what? You don't seem to do much. And here's what he said. He said, Ned, it's not my job to do anything. I'm like, you're the CEO. He said, Ned, my job is to make you want to come to work. Let's just think about that for a minute. He said it this way. Nobody pays you to go on holiday. Nobody pays you to go to the movies. Why? You pay because you want to do it, right? Yeah. But I pay you to come to work. So work must suck because I'm paying you. You're not coming because you want to. But what if I made work such an amazing place by motivating you, by giving you, my encouragement and me not being, he said, I work for you. I work for you. My job is to make this place amazing. And I walked out and I realized all of us wanted to come every day to see Matthias. The place we worked was amazing. Of course, we wanted paid. Let's not be too delusional here. And I left that and I always thought about that. And my job at Bamboo is I work for everyone. My job is to make this the most amazing place. And Aki loves tech. Guys, don't hate me for this. I'm not a tech guy. I like tech. Anyway, whatever. I love people. I love bringing people together. I really love happy people. And I'm egotistical. I like being the center of attention. I mean, I don't think that's a surprise. And I think, holy crap. Because I don't tell people when they come to work, 9, 5, I don't care. And one other thing, Mike. I trust people 0% or 100%. I don't trust anybody 99. Because if it's 99, well, you're always wondering. So when I employ somebody, I don't tell them what to do. Like, you know what to do. They're like, when should I come to work? I don't care. How do you know if I'm working hard? I trust you. Of course, if they break it, it's 0. We get rid of them. So everything I do at Bamboo is about making it the greatest place to work in Singapore. Everything I do is about making people want to come to work. Every single person is a shareholder. Even, and I'm going to say even, that sounds terrible, The lady who is in Singapore, we call her auntie, who cleans the office, she's a shareholder. Every single person, every single. And we do a lot for the people, and I feel crazy proud that if you go to Glassdoor and look at the recommendations, we are pretty much 100% great place to work. And it's hard, Mike. Like it's determination. I think about it every single day.
It is hard. It's commendable. It really is. You know, I'm look. Our business is smaller. We're only 30 odd people. You guys are 80 and growing, but it's still amassing a group of people in a very difficult to attract market. And quite often now with COVID, I don't do that many sort of public speaking events, but I used to be in a lot of panels, a lot of talks, a lot like you, and often on culture and building culture and how to run remote teams and build remote culture and all these sort of things. And I often get asked, like, Mike, it's, you know, Nona's got this amazing culture. We've heard about it. We've seen it. Like, what are the top 3 things that you could tell me to do in my business to help with that? And I always answer the question, but I always end up saying, like, I'm going to tell you, but you have to do them every single day. It's not like set and forget. It's not like have a one-on-one with this person. Cool, tick box. You've got to keep the stuff going every day, all the time, which I totally resonate with what you're saying. It's a full-time job. And I think your boss and what you're now doing as the CEO, it's exactly that. You know, in fact, I think my first podcast guest, who's a very successful founder, his mentor told him something, which I must have mentioned probably in every episode, but it's resonated so strongly with me. His mentor said to him, he said, Paul, you only have 2 jobs as the founder of a tech business or founder of a startup. Number 1 is to set the vision and bring everyone with you. Number 2 is to make sure you're never the smartest person in the room. That's it. If you can do those 2 things, you'll succeed. And that's what I've just heard from you completely, which is amazing. So look, Ned, we need to sort of start wrapping up. So I've got a couple of rapid fire questions. There's a whole bunch of things I wanted to ask you, but we've had such a great conversation. We've run out of time. We might have to do a round 2. But I want to ask you some sort of rapid fire questions. So first one is, do you have any habits or routines that you rely on for more focus and optimal performance?
This is going to sound crazy. I have to watch a banal show every day. Half an hour of banal TV resets my brain. Because I'm going to tell you, I run every day, I exercise. You know that. Of course, I'm addicted to running, right? So I would run all day, every day if I could, but I can't. But if I don't watch half an hour of The Bachelorette or America's Got Talent or some total rubbish, that optimizes my brain and stops me thinking about work. So that's it. Half an hour of crap TV every day.
Amazing. I love that. I love the honesty because, it wasn't the usual, which I respect because I live like that, but it wasn't the usual get up at 5 a.m., have a smoothie, etc. It was just like, watch some shit. Love that. What scares you in business?
That I'm not good enough. Like I just never think I do enough. That's nothing else scares me. I'll pitch anybody. I always believe I'll raise money. I always believe I'll get deals. Doesn't mean I always do because I'm delusional, right? Because I'm meant to be delusional. I just relentlessly, it comes back to this like backyard ultra. I'm scared I'm not doing enough. Like I want to be like, I am, I'm getting close to 80, 90, 100 meetings a week at the moment, right? Like seriously with Zoom, like but I never feel I do enough. And that scares me. Scares me that I won't get it done. What is it? Again, like backyard ultra. It's like, I know.
You can't succeed. You can't complete it, right?
I can't complete it. No matter what, I can't complete it.
Yeah. What content are you currently consuming besides the shit that you watch for half an hour every day on TV?
So, okay, well, my other habit is poker and gambling. So I rewatch on any downtime. So if I'm in like public transport and I'm not doing work or I'm on my phone, I watch reruns of poker shows. And like a lot of people, I do listen too much to Joe Rogan. I know he's a bit of a cult figure, but I will listen to him. And the book I'm reading right now is, it's basically the Tim Noakes. It's not by Tim Noakes. It's by a disciple of Tim Noakes to say that when you stop something, it's only because of your mind, never because of your muscles. It is. And it's not a training book. It's just a reality that, again, your body is only controlled by the mind. So an endurance book, poker reruns, and Joe Rogan.
Got it. What's the last book that you read cover to cover?
oh my God, looking for Al Howie. Al Howie was a drunk, drug-addicted gambler who still holds the speed record for running across Canada. He ran 72 days, 7,000K, 100K a day in the 70s, fueled on beer. You have to read it. In search
Sounds
of
amazing.
Al Howie, he was a reprobate, man. Like he lived this ridiculous life of drugs and rock and roll. And I don't know, like, I think he took to the reason I read it, he's the really scary guy. Like, I keep saying I can't do enough or whatever. That's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of being Al Howie. I don't want to be Al Howie. He ran himself to death. I don't want to do that. I can see that.
Fascinating.
I can see that. In Search of Al Howie, killer book.
I'm going to get that for sure. What is something that you are doing in the next 7 days to improve yourself or your craft?
I've never done that for 54 years. I don't see why I'll start now. I don't know. I just be me, right? Like, I don't overthink it, right? I know. No. This is going to make you laugh. I know what I'm doing. So I have a 21-year-old daughter. We're in lockdown in Singapore right now. I'm still allowed to go out and run, but the gyms are closed. So for any of you who do indoor, fitness training, HIIT training, there's a lady called Chloe Ting. Chloe Ting is a famous fitness influencer. So me and my daughter are doing the full-week ab shred exercise, and I'm going to look like Chloe Ting in 4 weeks. Can't wait.
Just me picturing you looking like a female fitness instructor is great, Ned. Thanks for that image. Cool, Ned. So look, we've had a great conversation. We've spoken about a lot of stuff. Of everything we've spoken about, because we've covered a lot of stuff, what is the one thing that you want the listeners to leave with today?
It's going to sound super cheesy, but do not spend your time thinking. Do it. Like, just pitch 100 people. Don't be afraid of doing it. If you do it,
love it.
If you don't do the wrong thing, don't go and rob a bank. I'm not saying that, but if you know that it's the right, it's a good thing to do, don't worry if you get it wrong. Just do it. Hey, I should start a shoe company and make $1 billion, right? Just do it. But it's great advice, right? It's great advice. Don't think, just do.
I love it, and I agree. It resonates. It's simple but incredibly difficult. And Ned, it's been energizing, entertaining, inspiring, all of those things talking to you. I've really, really loved it. Before we wrap up, do you like to be contacted or followed? And if you do like to be contacted or followed, how can people contact or follow you?
My darling wife is always like, oh, no. Ned has stopped speaking. Other people can speak now. Like, that is the criticism I get leveled. Yeah, let's just say it. I like being the center of attention. So you can go on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, just put Ned, N-E-D, Phillips, 2 L's, Phillips. You can follow us at bamboo.co. We put out a lot of content, so podcasts and other stuff as well. And if you want to email me, ned@bamboo.co. So ned@bamboo.co, or just follow me on LinkedIn, and that'll be the best place.
And we'll put that in the show notes. Ned, thanks so much for making the time. It was super cool. I suspect we're going to do a follow-up in a couple of months to get to the questions I wanted to ask you and to follow your progress, because it sounds like you guys are just kicking goals, which is amazing. Thank you so much for making the time. Thanks for sharing. It's been amazing.
Mike, honestly, this was fun. When you said I could talk about being moderately successful, then I found out we could talk about running. I'm like, oh my God, let's go. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And to the listeners, I hope that you got some value from today's episode with Ned Phillips from Bamboo. I definitely did. I mean, so many things. If I had to pick one, I think just this reminder that the depth of ability and the depth of strength that exists in all of us is pretty much limitless. And we know this, we hear this, but it's just great to speak to somebody like Ned that is doing it, like right now is doing it. And it's been a great inspirational reminder for me. So thanks for listening to the How to Be Moderately Successful podcast. If you do have a FinTech project that you would like to accelerate with a partner that will take care of your design and development to allow you to focus on your area of genius, we'd love to help. Head over to our website, www.nona.digital, to book a call with one of the principals, or just follow any of the contacts in the show notes. And one last plug, we are actively hiring senior developers and technical leads and offering very tasty rewards for any successful referrals. And I'll be back next week with another episode to help you build better businesses, better FinTech products, and a better you.